Center for Educational Media and the College of Education at Middle Tennessee State University are proud to offer professional development to K-12 educators in Tennessee through our online video library. These videos are aligned with standards set by the Tennessee Department of Education. For more professional development videos, check out our website at www.mtsu.edu/CEM. We have a great presentation to end the day today. We have a panel of 6 professionals from the Tennessee Department of Education here sitting with us today. They're going to deliver some content. Then they will be available for Q&A to engage with you. So have your questions ready. It's a great chance to engage directly with the department with any questions, concerns, or comments that you have. So please take advantage of that opportunity. So I'm happy to introduce this panel led by Ms. Susan Ussery, and I'll leave it in your hands.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. Great to be here. Glad that you all had the opportunity to come today and hear these amazing presentations. We are primarily going to share with you just some of the initiatives that the Department of Education, our special education and student support team are offering schools and educators. First is just our priorities at the Tennessee Department of Education, that we are supporting academics so that all students have access to high quality instruction, and that we're preparing educators to be the best in the state and in the nation, and that we're supporting all students, no matter where they live. So I'm going to start us out on introductions. As Dr. Clark said, I am Susan Ussery. I'm the Senior Director of Special Education Programs. I'm going to pass it down the line.
Hi, so I'm Allison Gold. I am the Senior Manager of Professional Development and Low Incidence Disabilities, which is those disabilities that occur less frequently in the population.
Hi everyone, my name is Jamie Seek. I'm the Speech Language and Related Services Manager.
Hello everyone, I'm Haley Richardson. I am the Senior Manager of Intervention.
Hello, I'm Allison Collins and I'm the Senior Manager of Complex Behavior.
Hi everyone, I am April Eminger. I'm the Director of Psychological and Behavioral Services.
All right, so we really just wanted to highlight a lot of the work. We are very busy at the Department of Education, and particularly in the area of special education and student supports, and just wanted to share with you some of the initiatives that we have been working on. Some have been, some are new, some have been going on for years, but we just wanted to make sure that educators understood what's available to them and know that we are here and available to support schools and educators. So the first one I'm hoping most of you have heard about is our Tennessee Technical Assistance Network. So this is a statewide initiative made up of 7 contracts that are available to districts to support you in all of these areas that you see: intensive behavior, access to preschool, RTI A and B, autism, assistive technology, secondary transition, and then family engagement. These are free resources available to all districts. There is a website where you can access referral forms if you feel that in your school building that you have a need for any specialized support in this area. You can reach out to anybody on the 1010 network referral page, and we can connect you with specialists who are equipped to come out and conduct trainings, support you at the school level, and also are developing high quality resources that can be used and shared among your district. And then one of the other highlights that you guys probably are very familiar with is Tennessee Pulse. We just finished year 1 of the new IEP management system. It's actually our IDEA data management system. So it houses our IEPs, but it also houses the ILPDs, which are the individual learning plans for English learners, and then the ILPDs for students with characteristics of dyslexia, and then also 504 plans. So it was maybe perhaps a bit of a rocky start that many of you may have experienced, but we have really, I think, come far in the past year of trying to work out a lot of the kinks, and we're very intentional when we were kind of designing some of the changes to make it really best for students and best for families to understand their students' plans. And then here are some of the other initiatives that are outside of our major statewide contract. I'm going to let these specialists who are actually supporting these contracts kind of speak and share a little bit about their work on these. So I'll start with April on Project RAISE.
Yeah, we are actually here just at, what was it, Friday, Susan, I think, at MTSU for our second annual launch of Project RAISE. So we are in year 2 of our 5-year federal grant. The goal of Project RAISE is to put a mental health provider, a school psych, a school counselor, a school social worker in all of our rural districts. So we have 59 district partners right now, and we are embarking on an intensive national marketing campaign to bring those providers not only into the state, but then attract them to stay and then intern and then work from our in-state universities and colleges as well. So we have a lot of initiatives going with Project RAISE, very excited about the work that we've done so far. Does anybody know if you're a Project RAISE district? Do you know? Oh, fantastic. You probably are, you may not know that. Again, we have 59 partners out of our 148 counties, or 48 school districts. So very excited about that work and look forward to year 2 of that implementation.
And I'll take the next one for Access for All Learning Network. That actually is going on this week. We have the Summer Summit for the K-8 and preschool. And so that is, we have districts that our cohorts are on year 3, and we are assisting district leaders in making sure that content and curriculum is accessible to students in tier 1, so accessible to students with disabilities. And so we have been focusing on literacy for the past 3 years, and now we're rolling out math. And I feel like I can't recall the number of districts, but we support them through communities of practice and learning networks that happen throughout the year. And they are also supported by regional access coaches to ensure that they are being supported in the implementation of that access to high quality instructional material in Tier 1.
All right, I'll talk about the next 2. So first we have the providing access to the visual environment, PAVE. So our students with a visual impairment do need often more services in place than a local district may have available because of the specialty of that disability. And so we have partnered with Vanderbilt Medical Center, so not the university, the medical center, and with an ophthalmologist who's leading this, who is an expert in diagnosis and supporting students with visual impairment through the use of assistive technology as well as corrective technology. And so her and her team I have approved multiple invoices of travel. They have literally been traveling through the state, everywhere from up in our farthest corners of Northeast near Johnson City, all the way to Memphis. And I've seen them moving all the way from Obion County down to Chattanooga. So they really are crossing the state, trying to support our individual students for whom access, because of that visual impact from their visual disability, has been limited. And it's just a remarkable stories. The other thing that they will provide is training for your teachers. So the teachers that are supporting need to understand the technology, they need to understand how to use it, how to problem solve, especially when there's any concerns, and how to teach the student to use it. And then they're working with families, and then they will also be holding a conference for teachers of the visually impaired. So they are one to know if you have any of those needs in your district. They are here to support. Incredible resources. As much as they are doctors with the most practical everyday language I've ever met. So you will enjoy them. And then we have Teaching All Students. So Teaching All Students is our current state personnel development grant initiative. States are required to have a personnel development grant initiative, they don't have to have the grant, as part of IDEA. And so this is our main focus at the department. Teaching All Students is focused 100% on ensuring every single student is heard, valued, and challenged. And so our focus is on those students with the most complex needs in the school, because they are the ones for whom those 3 things often do not occur. We are currently working with high schools and high schools only, and we have about 40 high schools working with us. I know we have a Teaching All Students school represented here in this room. They're doing incredible work. I cannot speak highly enough of the work of the schools. Our first cohort completed their 3 years in May. That included training every summer for a week and multiple coaching, 2 with me and then 4 to 6 with Vanderbilt. And in those schools, 100% of students now have at least one academic course they're attending. So it's pretty incredible results. And that happened organically through their own knowledge and skills. We are very excited because you will see coming shortly, we're going to be expanding this work and we're going to be expanding it to middle school. So I will say that is coming. It's soon to come, and I'm sure the middle schools will also champion, is the way the high schools have, really creating change within the districts.
We keep Allison busy. This is also a contract that she supports.
So the Educational Interpreter Training and Assessment Center. It was about 7 years ago now that we went to the State Board of Education to address a shortage that was very prominent at that time and continues to be prominent, and that is the shortage of trained interpreters for the deaf. So at that time, and unfortunately what remains true, is about a third of our interpreters in schools received their training through a club in a church, which is usually not sufficient for academic language. It is very different when you're talking about things like exponents and plate tectonics and really understanding filibusters and things like that. That language may or may not have been present. And of course, the lack of language impacts our students dramatically, which you'll hear through assistive technology at some point. But in order to address that shortage, we have a contract with Bridges for the Deaf, who have established 6 regional training centers. Those 6 centers align with the exact regions of community centers for the deaf. So those are the centers that provide interpreting services already across the state. So we just use the same regions for clarity's sake. They will support anyone who's interested in getting training to become an interpreter in both the language of ASL and in the skill of interpreting. And then they also provide the assessment that's required as part of licensure for free for those individuals. They have over 65 people currently engaged in this work, which is probably going to double our population in the field right now. So it's pretty incredible. So that is available through Bridges for the Deaf. Their main office is Nashville, but as I said, this is a statewide initiative.
All right, and I'm going to let Jamie talk about the speech language pathology tuition waiver.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Susan. So this is a reincarnation, if you will, of some work that has been done previously to really help provide some tuition-free pathways for individuals who are curious and want to be a speech-language pathologist in the schools. And as you are probably experiencing, and as you probably see, we do have staffing shortages across our disciplines in schools, not only in the special education teacher role, but also speech-language pathologists across a variety of disciplines, even as Allison alluded to with some of the work that she helps to support. So part of my role at the department is really to help engage back in this work that has been done previously to help provide some incentives to build the personnel in school speech language pathology. So I'm happy to announce that the department is partnering with a couple of districts or a couple of institutes of higher education, higher learning across the state to really provide some tuition-free pathways for those candidates who are interested in working in our schools. Those grants will actually help provide that support, help to provide some placement into rural, small, and sparse districts relative, very similar to what April was talking about with Project RAISE, and really help to provide some services to our students that are much needed. So I'm excited to get this kicked off. It's been a huge amount just of interest from our districts as well as from teachers, educators, possible potential SLP candidates reaching out and saying, we're ready to go. So I'm excited to get this started, and hopefully we'll also see it expand with this first year kickoff.
All right, and then April, I'm going to have April talk about the
Behind us. You do have them on the side, but I'm assuming we'll make these available. So our next piece is as you see, our digital assessment library. So part of what Jamie and Allison and I do annually is review districts who have findings around disproportionate representation. So those are indicators 9 and 10. I know a lot of you are teachers in this room and you're like, I have no idea what that is. We look at a series of indicators for each LEA. to flag for certain concerns. We look at LRE, we look at graduation rate, we look at outcomes across the board for our students with disabilities. And part of the APR indicators that we are responsible for, 9 and 10, are looking at, do we disproportionately identify, I think it's kind of piggybacks off of Dr. Biondi's session before, do we disproportionately identify certain students based on race or ethnicity in certain categories? And we look at 6 different categories. As we are going out and working with districts who have findings in these areas, one of the biggest recommendations I feel like we kept saying is, goodness gracious, and are all of you SPED teachers in this room? Raise your hand, all SPED teachers or other admin, SPED admin, principals, who else? Related service providers, school psychs, a couple SLPs, who am I missing? A big piece of this was around their assessment libraries, and oftentimes districts are just essentially at the whim of their SPED directors of what they can purchase. And if you haven't ever looked into how expensive testing kits are, they're astronomical. And so what we started to see over this across the state is the same assessments given to every single kid, no matter what they were evaluating for, no matter what the referral question is. Everybody got a WISC, everybody got a Woodcock-Johnson achievement test, no questions, right? And so as we consulted with districts, we gave the recommendation, well, why don't you expand your assessment library? And we were getting challenges and barriers coming back from the district saying, it's a lot of money. So what we did, and Dr. Jordan, our commissioner, assistant commissioner of special education, really committed a lot of funds to this procurement, millions of dollars essentially to develop out this digital assessment library, which will be launched in the fall, which will allow every single school, public school district in the state of Tennessee to have access to this digital assessment library. There is a suite of approximately 40 plus assessments that are across psychological, speech language, fine and gross motor assessments for free. All of the protocols are for free. All of the interpretation reports are for free. One, to release the burden off of districts, but then again, to ensure that when we're evaluating students with disabilities, we're not saying, we're not gonna give 2 measures here because that's expensive. Now you have no excuse why we can't give multiple assessments in multiple domains, because now we are paying for all of this for you. There will be Spanish and English versions of these assessments. And again, all of this will be at no charge. Our districts can also, if you have the technology, and if you don't have technology, we can consult with you on some solutions for that. But you will also have access to electronic administration through use of iPads. One, we hope that that is going to ensure that assessments that are administered are done so not only efficiently, but they're accurate. We have also seen some increases in diagnoses in certain areas because of either misadministration of an assessment or you missed a basal or ceiling, right? And so we want to release that burden by providing this digital assessment library. So be looking out for that. Again, that will be released in the fall, but really excited about what this will do, especially not only for all of our school districts, but especially our rural school districts. Some of you may or may not know this, but our eligibility standards were last revised back in 2017. And for the most part, very small, kind of minor semantic changes, but we have reopened those. So our current standards, we are hoping to move those into State Board Rule, which is a process that our State Board of Education has to review. So Jamie, Allison, and I have assembled a task force. This past year, we reviewed and revised 5 areas of eligibility: SLD, so specific learning disability; speech language impairment, SLI; autism, developmental delay, and I'm missing one. Emotional disturbance, which, by the way, am I allowed to say this, Susan?
Sure.
Our task force did make a recommendation to change the name of emotional disturbance to emotional disability. So I know that has been a huge, come on, give it to me. I love when you clap. Clapping's good. So there will be a period of public comment. So these have not been accepted or approved yet as they stand by the State Board of Education, but there will be a period of public comment this I know we're saying this summer, but going into early fall before we do first read with the State Board of Education in November. So please engage with that process. If you would like to give us public feedback on any changes that have been recommended in any of those 5 categories, please do so. There is actually a solicitation up right now for our next group. We will be looking at other health impairment, functional delay, vision impairment, hearing impairment, and TBI, or is it deaf blindness? But if you're interested in joining, you don't necessarily need to be an assessment specialist. If you are a teacher who maybe has a classroom and a lot of experience with working with students with vision impairments, hearing impairments, deaf blindness, this is a paid position. So if you're interested in applying, feel free to reach out. I think we share our contact information at the end of this. Feel free to reach out to me or Jamie Seek, and we'll be happy to get you the application process for this next round of the task force. And then certainly going into year 3, we'll look at the remaining eligibility categories to update and to get those into state board rule as well.
All right. So, yes. Response to instruction and intervention for both academics and behavior. In terms of academics, we just completed a round of regional trainings across the state in database decision making, which aligned to the updated RTI Squared A manual that was released at the end of last summer, at the beginning of the school year. We have released the asynchronous version of that training. So if you were unable to attend the regional training, we do have that asynchronous version that is now available on the website. Part 1, which is the presentation of the content information. Part 2, which is a case study review, we're hoping to have available within the next few days to next week. We are waiting on final review for that to be published, and then it will be made available for you all to use as an open access resource. We also have released the community's practice and office hours schedule for RTI Squared A and characteristics of dyslexia. And so if you have questions surrounding those 2 areas, we do offer office hours. We are going to have a series of open office hours where you can come and ask any question that you may have, along with a series of targeted office hours that have specific topics that we're going to be addressing within those office hours, such as the administration of universal screeners or the universal reading screener, and the data reporting that goes along with that, the creation of the ILPD or the individualized learning plan for characteristics of dyslexia, and potentially any updates within the PULSE system that may coincide with that creation of that document. So these are the topics that we have released. We do have that plan available, and we have pushed it out. We are currently revising the response to instruction and intervention B manual, the behavior manual. It is in the earliest stages of revision, and so we are working, Allison, working very diligently to move through that manual. It has not been revised since 14, 16, somewhere in there. So it has had a good run, and will take a little bit of time to kind of filter through and create a finished product that really speaks to the needs of districts and works to support you as you support your students, our students across the state.
Thanks, Haley. So many years ago, you may have recalled or have actually attended, the Department of Education had hosted the PI conference. Typically, was it February? And we haven't done that in a few years, so we're bringing back kind of a mini PI is what we're calling it. So we're doing some regional special education summits starting this fall. And so we are going to be doing kind of tours across the state. We're going to start in west and move our way east. And these are going to be opportunities for not only SPED directors, but educators to attend. And we are just going to focus our sessions on the first round specifically on access to Tier 1. So we will have different topics that are specific to that. One will be assistive technology and how we can support students in Tier 1 by the use of assistive technology. And then we have one that is going to be focused on behavior in Tier 1 and how are we really supporting students so they can remain in that general education classroom. And then we have one on instruction. Sorry, I had to think through these. We're doing one on instruction. It's tier 1. So again, these are all specific to students with disabilities. And we have another session pending that we think, as I know Dr. Clark had mentioned, she partners with Tennessee CEC, as do we. And so they are likely going to be hosting a session with us on that as well, a very practical session. And then we are going to do an APR 101. So kind of walking through the participants in what the APR indicators are and how those are directly connected to the health of your special education programs in your district, but also the performance of students. So we're really excited to roll those out. They're coming up on us quickly at the end of September. The first one is going to be in West Tennessee. We'll be at Jackson State Community College. And then in Middle Tennessee, we are so grateful that Wilson County Schools has agreed to host us. So that's where we'll be in Middle. And then in East Tennessee, we will be at
Cleveland State, correct?
Cleveland State Community College. Thank you, Jamie. And those are just for the first round. We are still working on venues for the second round, so stay tuned for more details on that. And 1 and 2 are repeat? Yes, thank you for that. We are doing 2-day events for each region, but they will be repeat days. So a district can send a different group of educators and instructional leaders to day 1 and a different set to day 2, and you will all receive the same content. We are a little bit limited by the capacity of the venues, and so as much as we would love to have just unlimited participants, we really are bound to the number of rooms that are available in these venues for us. So that's why we're hoping that districts can send people on both days, and we can really have a broader reach that way. So stay tuned. We will be opening registration, I think, pretty soon for these, so kind of be on the lookout with your SPED directors for that. And then I'm going to let Jamie or April take this one.
We are very excited. If you have not received this schedule, and I think I just found a typo in mine earlier that I submitted to you, so feel free to email us. Our assessment specialist communities of practice, we hold them monthly. So that would be for your speech language pathologist, school psychologist, OTs, PTs can attend. But we have had a lot of teachers start to attend, which is fantastic. Please don't feel like you're limited if you're not an assessment specialist. I will say our topics typically are geared around for assessment specialists, but I will say our first session that will be held in early September is all around how not essentially to be sued for your reevaluation processes. So all of the dispute resolutions that we have gathered over this previous year, we are building out our training to walk you through how not to go through that dispute resolution process and to prevent that from occurring through your reevaluation process. So SPED teachers, certainly you guys are an integral part to a reevaluation and you would benefit from that content just as much. So feel free to join us. I know we have a lot of different topics that we'll be talking about in terms of dynamic assessment, evaluating English language learners. Any other highlights, Jamie? I know we'll have an assistive technology piece, and then also in the springtime, we will dedicate some sessions to our changes to our eligibility standards to make sure you know that if there's anything that is substantive in terms of changes, that your teams are trained to encounter that and be able to implement in August of next school year.
Thanks, April. I'm going to take just a moment here. We really do try to offer a lot of engagement opportunities. Haley's team is doing the office hours and the communities of practice, as are Jamie and April, but we're also considering doing just a SPED, almost like a Q&A. We had an office hours last year that was not super popular and highly attended, so we're trying to jazz it up a little bit this year and really make it beneficial for educators taking that time out of their day. So I really would be interested if anybody has any thoughts on what would be beneficial for educators specifically if we were to host some time throughout the month, either as a Q&A, are there particular topics that would be of interest, or any kind of particular formats that would be interesting to you all, because we know your schedules are so tight and want to make it worth your while if we're going to host something. So we'd love any feedback if there's anything that you feel out in the field would be beneficial.
And if you don't have thoughts today, you can
That's
have
right.
them in email.
That's right. All right, we'll mull that over. we're doing that ourselves. So we may send out an offering in the fall. All right, and
I have a question.
yes, ma'am.
Regarding that possible office hours and who would they be speaking with? Who would they be connecting with?
Probably one of us on the team. We have a couple members that are not here with us today that are part of the special education programming team. I will say, with the exception of Haley, we love Haley. Haley is on our counterpart under Dr. Jordan, so she is on the intervention side and student support, whereas all of these other ladies are on the special education programming side. Catherine Bledsoe, who is not here with us today, supports post-secondary transition, and then we have Annika Chambers, who is instruction and enrichment, and both of those ladies are in districts today. But it would be one of the members of the special education team. Haley's folks already have one going, so they are set, but it would be special education programming folks.
And to follow up on that, logistically speaking, if they wanted to speak specifically with someone, would there be a way to coordinate that through this office hours effort?
Sure, of course, pending people's schedules, folks are out in the field all of the time, but if we had enough notice and there was a topic that was specifically of interest, we absolutely could try to coordinate something. We love offering opportunities for engagement. We love hearing from teachers and talking directly with you and learning what is happening in the field, what are your problem areas, what are areas that we could support you in. So we're absolutely open to that.
May I do a quick
Sure.
plug that I don't think I put on this PowerPoint? Triad's going to be hosting a special education teacher series this upcoming school year. There is already a link that you can go to apply on the Triad site. There's a number actually of different opportunities that are available to your stakeholders in your district. There's a BCBA community working group that meets monthly where your BCBAs in your district can come and do some case consultation, receive additional training virtually. Then we'll have a series for school administrators. So all around what to do, not to do around behavior, especially those students with disabilities. And then now we're hosting a series for special education teachers because we know that you guys are the frontline defense always for students with problematic behaviors. And we want you to have the skills and the competencies to work with all of your students in your buildings. So if you go to the Triad website, you can probably navigate and find it easily, but if you can't, feel free, once we share contact information, shoot me an email. I'm happy to send you the registration link for you to sign up to attend that teacher series.
That's a great plug, April, and I think I started listing here some of the resources. Most of these are from the TIN partners that I mentioned at the beginning, the opening of the session. But I think each of us manage or support a contract or the work of a contract related to the TIN network. So maybe we can take just a moment for everybody to kind of share the work of your respective partner. And I can start. So the contract that I support that's part of the TIN network is Family Engagement. And that is a contract with the ARC Tennessee. And so their goal really is to help schools partner with families so that families feel more included in their students' education, which we know also helps students perform better when you have that partnership with the family and the school. So you may think of the ARC as kind of the advocacy, and they do have an advocacy arm in their branch, but the work that they're doing under the TIN network is not advocacy. It is really about supporting educators as well as families. So they make a lot of family-friendly resources. I think I have a couple linked at the end here, such as they'll make the procedural safeguards in a family-friendly version. They host community conversations so that they get feedback from the community about what's going well in schools, what are some things that schools can maybe do to improve the experience of students with disabilities. So they do a lot of engagement work, but also resources, and then they do an annual conference that's going to be specific to educators that I think they're planning to do in February. But I think we had a question? Question, comment?
Are you saying 10?
So, I'm sorry, I probably should. So TN as in Tennessee. Thank you. And then TAN, Technical Assistance Network. So TN-TAN, I think it says it /t or .tnedu.com. .gov. is a website. And so that's where you can go to the referral, but it also will tell you a little bit about each of the partners within that network. And then I'll just pass to Allison.
Okay, so I'll share a few. So first, there is a Triad has 2 contracts. So there's the one that April mentioned a little bit about, that's behavior. They also have one that is autism. And for autism, it's really about building capacity of school team members. That includes administrators, paraprofessionals, related services, teachers. They also have a self-advocate component, supporting those individuals with autism themselves to become the advocates that they need to be long term, as well as a family component. And they're really focused on building capacity. So it's a lot of training and resources, a lot of training that's in person. They also can do training that is synchronous, meaning it's in real time, but it's online, which allows for people to come together from across a variety of the state. And then asynchronous, in that is training that you do on your own time that's already prepared for you in some more modules and formats. They also have a large library of resources. So if you have an educator who's looking at something like, how do I build or use a visual schedule? They have a simple 1-pager to get you started. How do I communicate with parents about something? They have a 1-pager. They have so many, there's hundreds of them. So you will find plenty of materials through the Triad Autism, but again, it's a capacity building. So it's really about working with groups of individuals that support individuals with autism, or working with that group of individuals themselves to become stronger advocates. Then we also have the contract that is the Assistive Technology Project, lovingly referred to as ATP. And it's all things assistive technology. And it really does run the gamut in that it has some student-specific supports. So if you have a student who could benefit from assistive technology, or whom you believe could benefit, but perhaps you don't know what that would look like or what to do, they can definitely support at that student level. They can support at that team level, the school level. They can support district-wide, and they can support regionally. So it can be in a variety of ways through training, helping be aware of what's available. They also have a lending library, which is super important in that we have some students that tend to move around from district to district. This happens a lot when we have like the city district within a county district, because it can be a matter of streets that you move. And so there is some burden on the district that if they purchase assistive technology and then the student switches to another district, now it sits, right? And some of the assistive technology can be quite expensive. So they're supporting with that lending library. The other thing that lending library does that's really, really important is it gives you a chance to diagnose and try what is the most efficient or effective technology for the student. And then they will support the family in applying to their private insurance to get that purchase for the student, so the student has it in perpetuity. So it's everything from student to regional level that they can support, and it's pretty incredible resources, all of which of course goes hand in glove with all the work from Jamie and her team and the speech language pathologists, occupational therapists, and physical therapists, because they really need to be part of that work as well in your schools. And then I will speak on behalf of Catherine because she is busy with districts today. So Catherine oversees the Transition Tennessee contract, which is all things transition, meaning everything really even before the age of 14 and on. It's how do we start to plan for transition, because ultimately school is an adult preparation program. The whole reason we exist is so that we have very productive adult citizens in our communities who are able to work in that community, taxpayers, but thrive in the community, have connections and feel a part of that community, have relationships and friendships. And that's really big work, and it's work that often feels like an add-on, but it's a critical part of our everyday. And so Transition Tennessee works to help teams understand the transition planning process, as well as the implementation of transition plans in order to change outcomes for students. And so that's their big focus. I think those are the three. I think that's it.
And Haley. Oh, did we have a question?
As we move through the panel today, talking about all these resources that are available, in the collaborative and in Tennessee, we have a number of communities of educators besides the public school educators. So we have educators in non-public situations. We have educators in homeschool, educators in Tennessee Department of Corrections. Are these resources available to educators, including homeschool educators?
For students in public school, charter school, juvenile detention centers, and students with disabilities, yes. We do not extend the supports, however, to students in homeschools or private schools.
Okay, I just needed clarification on that. Okay, thank you.
Sure. And then I'll pass it to Haley.
So I support the work of the Tennessee Tiered Support Center, which you may have heard as TNTSC or TSC, and they work to support districts with the implementation of RTI squared, both A and B. While they can provide specific support in one or the other, academic or behavioral supports, they really work to create an aligned approach to implementing those two frameworks into a single approach for a system-wide vision for providing service and support to students. They actually partner with 3 universities across the state to make sure that districts in all 3 grand regions of the state have support. So in West Tennessee, they work through the University of Memphis. Here in Middle Tennessee, it's through the Vanderbilt University, and then in East Tennessee, it's through the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. And they, like RTI squared, have 3 tiers of support in terms of how they work with districts. So they do provide some universal supports through open access materials and opportunities within the community that are open to attendance regardless of what your partnership or your collaborative agreement is with them. And they promote those through the 1010 calendar of events. Is that what it's called now?
I believe so.
Okay, yes. So if you are interested in seeing a listing of those events, that is available on the 1010 Network website. They also can work with districts in a more targeted approach through specific topics of support, and then they do have an intensive support where they come in and partner specifically with districts to kind of create a plan and a roadmap for system-wide change within your district in terms of practices and implementation of RTI A and B as it works within your specific districts.
I will talk about our triad contract, Allison and I. And by the way, Allison's not talking because she's, 5 weeks into this new role. So Allison and I co-manage the triad contract. So bring us your most severe cases of behavior. Those are the ones we want. Our contract is a little different than some of the others that were discussed, is because we are student specific. We want to know if you have a Johnny in your district who is aggressive and violent, and that maybe you've had to put him on educational homebound. Or even medical homebound for whatever reason because of their behaviors. They're lacking access to general education because of behaviors. You're having staff hurt, you're having faculty, other faculty hurt, or other students, or even the student, him or herself. We want those cases. We have some really incredible data that shows how impactful our services are through Triad. This past school year, we partnered with over 50 school districts. And by the way, has anybody worked with Triad on a student-specific case? Love it, love you. We're not just asking for you as the SPED teacher or just the BCBA to partner with us. It has to be a team. It has to be a team approach to solving the behavioral issues of any student who's exhibiting these. And so we're going to ask for your team to come together to develop this plan and walk alongside Triad to develop those competencies and skills that you need. So if you turn around next year and you have another Johnny 2.0, you automatically know how to manage. So again, please reach out. We have improved self-injurious behavior, self-harm, aggressive behaviors incredibly for all the students that we have worked with. We've improved LRE incredibly, but some of the greatest feedback that we've gotten are from parents. Parents, I think, are sometimes when they come to you desperate for help, or when you're going to them saying, we just can't have Johnny in this environment anymore, parents don't know what to do either. And so we also pull parents into this process to build their competency. So whatever we're doing at the school, we can also do that at home. So again, a lot of the feedback we've gotten is so positive, and even just seeing their kid in a new light just changes that trajectory for that child. And so again, feel free, reach out to us. I think we'll share email or our 1010 website. You can apply for services even now. If you have a student that you know's coming or is coming back, you can go ahead and start the process now to get everything in place before your school year begins.
All right, thanks everybody. And as I mentioned, these are just a very few, a sprinkling of the resources that the 1010 partners are producing for us. So if there is something that you are specifically looking for, odds are we have it somewhere. So reach out if you are not able to find it either through our own website or through the 1010 website. And a lot of things are posted specifically on Triad since we partner with them through 2 contracts. So anything specific to supporting students with autism and also supporting students with complex behavior can be found on their website. They've got amazing online modules. So certainly take advantage of those resources. That's what we have them for. And then here are a few more that are continued. I just wanted to throw in some things that you may not have seen. The first one, creating high quality summaries of performance, is brand new. Catherine Bledsoe, who is not here today, has recently created that, and it's a PowerPoint. Summary performance, if you may not know, is a required document upon exiting, when a student is exiting high school. And so this just really walks you through that process and the requirements for that, but also why is it important and how does it benefit the student. And then we also have a CTE safety test guidance document, because we get a lot, and you may speak to that since you probably field many of those questions.
Yes, so there is no state safety test. I know, people never believe me, there's not. They are created by CTE teachers, or in some districts a CTE coordinator, but they are created. A CTE safety test, therefore, should not be the gate that is keeping our students with disabilities from participating. And Catherine is really leading the work alongside CTE at the state. She meets with them very regularly to ensure that we break down those gates. It is not intended to be a gate. It's intended to be a way of showing that the students have the safety skills to participate, but those safety skills can be modified, the test can be modified, it can be accommodated, it can be delivered in a variety of ways. It is not intended to prevent participation.
Do you want to go and speak to the next one too? Return of eligible students?
Sure, so we also have some guidance around the return of students until age 22. Students with disabilities have the right to participate and benefit from special education services through the age of 21 or until they receive a regular diploma according to IDEA. In Tennessee, through 21 is defined as through the end of the school year they turn 22. The end of the school year, by the way, for most of us is June 30th, but you might have a little bit different date in TN Pulse, but it's usually then, which answers the question about what about ESY. They very well may be eligible for the first session of ESY as well. Why that document came out is that we're seeing a very disheartening trend, and I think it's simply a result of us being tired. But a trend where parents are not informed that their student is expected to continue until they either receive that traditional diploma or through age 22. They shouldn't have to ask to be opted in. They shouldn't have to complete other paperwork to continue. It should be the expectation that the student's continuing. Because again, school's an adult preparation program, and we know that our students who are not leaving us with a traditional diploma have a really hard road ahead. And we need to use every single minute we have to prepare them for a career, not a job, a career, for engagement with their community, for as independent a living as possible, and for the possibility of pursuing further education and training in their career. The reality is that right now, more than half of our students with disabilities, 1 year after high school, are doing nothing but sitting on the couch. If we learned nothing from COVID, and I hope we learned a lot, but if we learned nothing else from COVID, I hope we learned that a life on the couch is an existence, not a life. And we want more than that for our students. And so this document is reminding us of the importance of engaging with them as long as possible and taking advantage of those years after the first 4 years of high school to really start to bridge them into that adult world. How do I connect you to those adult services so that you keep going? How do I connect you to employment training programs so you keep going, or job coaches? How do I connect you into the transportation system, which you may think doesn't exist, but by law there's one in your county somewhere? How do I build that connection now? And so that is a guide to help with that conversation, and potentially is really your backup for you to have that conversation with other people in the district.
Thank you, Allison. All right, and just a couple of family-friendly resources that the ARC has put out under the Family Engagement Contract. One is informal removals. And so this is where students are being sent home informally. It's not counted in the attendance record. It's typically due to behavior, and it is not appropriate. And so this is a graphic that is very helpful for not only families, but for educators understanding the different removal types. And what is recorded and appropriate and what is not. And then we have an overview of the procedural safeguards. Again, just a very friendly infographic so parents really better understand what their rights are when they have a student with disabilities. And then what you need to know about Section 504. So again, these are just all very family friendly that can be shared with parents in IEP meetings, 504 meetings, just so that they are equipped and knowledgeable to best support and advocate for their child. Some resources coming soon. The Special Education Framework, I hope you all know about the framework. It was last also revised, not quite a long ago as the RTI manual, but back in 2017. So it has been a lot of work, but we just recently submitted it, so we're hoping that it will be available for release in the fall. Early fall is our hope. And it did updates primarily around any new state board rules that have come down since 2017, but also to align more closely with TN Pulse, since before we had a lot of references to Easy IEP and the formatting of our former IEP platform. And so this really is going to align more closely with the layout of the IEP and TN Pulse. So hopefully be on the lookout for that soon. And then I did have it in here, Haley. We have the updated RTI2 implementation guide coming soon and the RTI2B manual coming soon. Anything else that anybody has down the pike? Okay, those are biggies. And then here's our contact information. So if there's something that you have questions about any of the specific contracts that each of us manage or our work specifically, feel free to connect with any of us. We're happy to answer questions, connect you to resources that maybe you can't find. Sometimes it's a little challenging navigating our website, so we can help you with that. And then if there's any COPs that you want to attend and you need access to those schedules, just please reach out. We're happy to help. But we are also open to questions. If you have questions about any of the resources that we've shared or just anything else about our work or ways that we can support you.
Any updates on the 504 guide or manual?
So 504 manual has been revised. It is working its way through our final comms process. I think it sits with our general counsel, Christy Ballard, right now. We are hoping for release September 1. Yes.
I'll quote you on that, September 1st.
And I will make sure in our bi-monthly calls, I know you come often, that it is released there as well. And I'm assuming within our SPED director's calls. And then if, I know you just updated me on who your 504 coordinator was, but it'll go out through that listserv as well.
Thank you.
I was going to say, I participated in a bunch of the office hours throughout the past year in different areas. And they've been very beneficial. Like, I think it's been very helpful for whatever subject that you may be in. A suggestion would be a lot of times the people who participate in those don't know the questions to ask. So one of the best ones I attend, Hannah and Joanne and Raven do a fantastic job in the EL world. And they typically have topics or points of conversation. And I think that's beneficial as you move forward. And I think I've only done the Pulse one, but I haven't done any of the other ones in the SPED world. But for me, I think that's beneficial. So reach out topics, because I think some people get on there and they don't know what to ask, or they're new, and the conversation kind of stalls. So anytime you can get a lot of people are on there just listening. They want to hear what other people have to say, and I think that's beneficial. So keep up that. That's definitely a positive thing that TDOE does. So
We appreciate that feedback. Yeah, we actually spoke about that too internally, of just having, something to launch the conversation, because you're right, we would get people that would tune in and then just kind of be off camera and silent, which makes it a very awkward office hour session. So yeah, we want to definitely make it useful. And so I think if we start off with just areas that we know are either problems of practice, that would probably be very beneficial.
Hi, have there been many updates to Pulse this summer? I know we got some surprises throughout the year, so just curious about that.
No, fair, very fair. To the IEP system, not really. Most of them, I think, have been with the ILPs specifically. IEPs, have primarily been glitches and working through some defects that had occurred. The age of majority change was one of the more recent releases. We did just get, I think, final testing on unlimited accommodations, because it was limited prior to how many you could enter. So I think that has rolled out. With the age of majority, there were some changes around the language in the consent portion of the IEP, but you've probably already seen that. But I don't think that, unless Jamie, if you're in it more than I am, so you may, okay. IEP I think we've pretty much stabilized. ILPs, I think there's still some work happening.
And there are still some updates to the ILPD. Okay. They're going to be refining some pieces of the ILPD that have been brought forward, but I don't think there's any sweeping changes, more to make it user-friendly and more intuitive to what we expect in terms of the platform.
And we do know and acknowledge that the Parent Connect feature is not working as designed, so that is hopefully will be a change that you will see to be able to utilize in the fall. I'm not sure on the exact release date of that, but that will be a really invaluable tool for you to use, as parents will be able to access all of their finalized documents, and then you'll be able to send things electronically for their signature through that portal. I do know a lot of your districts are still using DocuSign and other mechanisms. That was the intent of this Parent Connect feature, and we certainly understand that has not been working consistently across the state. So that's been a big piece of that. I hope you'll be able to see within functionality soon.
That said, if there's something you feel we need to consider as a change, you can certainly share that. Our hope is that those changes are released not as random or unexpected, right? Moving forward. But certainly we're constantly having discussions to make sure that it is the best tool we can have. So just know that we're always willing to hear feedback on that. I will say sometimes we get feedback that's just a very personal feedback. So it really would need to be a system-wide consideration.
I will say too, and the dates are going to be released pretty soon to directors, I think in an email blast, but PCG, who manages our TN Pulse system, is going to be offering some training specific to each of the plans within the platform. So they will have one that's specific to the end user, so those educators that are really using the IEP. There will be a training available coming soon. It will be virtual, and then the ILPs are in person. And then 504 plans will be virtual. Am I missing any? Are those they're doing one on, okay, an ILPD will also be virtual. So those will be coming soon.
To follow up on Allison, when you say we welcome feedback, how should they offer the feedback?
I mean, you can send it to any of these emails. The best one is that first one, special populations, just because that's a great kind of landing spot for us to keep those things. But you could send it to any of us. We all chit chat quite a bit.
Absolutely. And I think even in TN Pulse itself, on do you get them through Zendesk? Sometimes we'll just get. requests that way?
Yeah, so as Susan mentioned, there's a thing called Zendesk, which I affectionately call the help desk. I was an Easy IEP user for quite a number of years, as some of y'all may have also been, and I always called it the Easy IEP help desk. So it's been a really tough transition, even for me, to get used to the TN Pulse Zendesk or the help desk. But if you have access to it, you'll see an envelope. It's a little envelope up in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, and you can submit that information relative through that portal, and that will go through the platform. Sometimes a help desk agent will answer and respond. Sometimes that help desk agent will pass it along to one of us, and we will actually respond and look into it. I know I get several of those, and I love having those conversations. So they've been really helpful to have, and they've been really valid. Like one of them came through, it was around addresses and printing information. And it, as Allison said, it sparked a conversation amongst our team that was something that we necessarily hadn't thought of, but as a user in the district, they were seeing it really become a potential hazard. So it was very helpful for us to have that brought to our attention, and then we could run it through as a team, and then even bring in our Office of General Counsel to make sure that it was something that was effective, not only for that district, but also for all of our students, right, and all of our end users.
I think what you'll find is you can pretty much use any of those email addresses, and we're just people on the other end. And so we will work really hard to support you. I would love to say we're going to respond like immediately. I will tell you that the past 3 weeks I've been training, and so it's not immediate right now. But we'll do our best to get back to you as timely as we possibly can, because you are our priority. We all work in this job because we support you. And so we're pretty approachable. You can email us, and if you even want to just email and say, hey, can we set up a call? We'll do that.
This has been a great conversation, lots of information, lots of resources, lots of links, lots of support mechanisms.